Buyer segment. Why can't I remember? I wrote this stuff. Why can't I remember it? Why don't I say it fucking right? What does the goddamn line say, Tony? What is the goddamn line? I don't give a shit what the line is. I fucked up the word rear. I can't even read the fucking VO straight. What the fuck was that? We got flies all over the fucking place. Son of a bitch. Get out of here, you fucking flies. There's a fly over the headlight, Tony. We got flies coming for us. Fuck. Fuck out of here, you flies. We got 3 flies, 5 flies. And if you will, make sure, if you will, we don't have that fly on the left side, on the passenger side, because we don't have that in frame, but make sure we don't have any flies here. And we don't have any flies. Here we go. Get out of here, you goddamn jackass. I gotta read it again because my mind is just a piece of shit this morning. God, I can't fucking make my mind work. Tony, give me a towel for just a minute, please. That... I'm blinded by that fucking hot light. Goddamn son of a bitch! What do you mean, I'm gonna fall off the fucking thing? Fuck. Just keep running. Bullshit, I'm gonna slate this fucker. All right, I haven't got time to mark this motherfucker. Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody. Still speeding. Well, turn the fucking thing off, you dumbass. And I'd like to kick your fucking head in. Meet innovation. Money. Fuck. Not even funny anymore. Son of a bitch! Jesus Christ. Fuck! Shit. Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. Fuck. Shit. Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck. Shit. Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. Fuck off! What the hell's the line? Shit! What the fuck is it? Can't remember the goddamn line. The accoutrement that you will need. Accoutrement? What is that shit? I don't know, shit. It's just all gone. I get so goddamn diuretic when I sit here, and my mouth just never stops. For 1989, each individual storage compartment has this controlled light that you can put up your fern if you want to. How's that? What shot is it? Oh, shit. What did I do? Did I walk through it? It's going to be very helpful in keeping you from falling down, you big dumb son of a bitch. You're disturbing what's left of my brain. Yeah, but my mind is such shit. To say nothing of the flies in my head. Got a fly in my mouth and every fucking other thing happens. If I knew what the rest of the line was, then I would be in good shape. It's amazing how I just dabble. Uh-oh. I guess my mind is going again. My body is dismembered from my mind completely. Which is pretty average with me, but I can't think. Something is wrong with me. But you'd think I was making this up as I was going along. My mind isn't working enough to do this any better than it is. I was going bananas. My mind is just ready to go completely. Oh, mind is deteriorating. Because I don't think I can get out of this thing worth a shit. Nobody can, so, you know. Turn of a baba schnabber rubber. But a shut up, bacha. Compacha junja bacha wache. Catch a shit. Schmegeldeggle, what the fuck is it? Did the weed change the sector Pachakaya, French Conchacha Rata. Pasha, Ushipaya Pakashipa Willia Wakayaha, Ushipaka. Boy, that was good. Yeah, like was Shada Schmikish Bash. Baji Baji Ba. Baji Baji Ba. The Harvey Baji Ba. Baji Kenji Baji. Little Potter Chenaway Punchang Rachi Wacha. Chicken choyak. The Super Storage Sun Cruiser offers maximum storage to a very diverse group of the ferns and the docks. The automotive fuses, they're all laying out here in beautiful condition for the fern and the dock. Let's go. And particularly at night, whenever you find your fern in your dock, I don't know. And they're made with an insulating material which really preserves the fern and the dock and the whatever, and I don't know, shit. The Sunflower now enjoys a full 5 inches in increased diameter on the fern. And the Pearl Watch. Oh, shit. Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. Among the questions that you may be asked is, can I get this rig in and out of my driveway?
There's no words there. There's no words on it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. I've never seen that. Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there. Okay, ready? Take it away. Go, go. Yeah. Go, go. Yeah. Go, go. Yeah. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Go, go. What's that mean? To play us out? Fuck it. To end the show? Yeah.
Yo, everybody. Sorry we are a little bit late this week. Coming in 25 minutes late, but better late than never. It's episode 148, Dark Horse Live. And what a week it has been. So, right off the top of the show, I know some people are probably interested in hearing what I have to say about this, but I'll just say Caesar's not going to be appearing on the show anymore. He's not going to be on the Seed Bazaar ever again as far as the seeds. He's not going to be a part of the 100K Grand Prix, and he's no longer worked for Dark Horse. I'm not going to speak on it too much more than that, basically be on the advice of counsel, because it's a legal matter. But I will say I've decided to make sure that Caesar is paid entirely from any remaining balances on the Seed Bazaar or at Dark Horse. And we wish him well and thank him for his time as a part of this program and working for Dark Horse. And if we need to revisit this topic at a further point, we can absolutely do that. But as of right now, I'm just going to leave it there and move it the fuck along. But yeah, with that said, we have an in-studio guest this week, somebody who I've known for like 17 fucking years, one of my long-term friends in the cannabis industry. So without further ado, let's move it right along to my man, iRock.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Welcome to the show. iRock, first time probably appearing on a podcast, so I appreciate you coming down and doing this one.
Never been on a podcast.
Yeah, this dude doesn't do podcasts. So, but yeah, I think you've seen the show quite a few times, so you know kind of know how we start. I'm just going to warm you up with, you got to tell us about your first like cannabis experience. Like, when was the first time that you saw cannabis, smoked it, or grew it? Take me back to the early days of the dawn of your cannabis journey.
Shoot, I was probably a little bit of a late bloomer.
Lean into that microphone just a little bit more. There you go. Yeah.
I was probably a little bit of a late bloomer there. I think I didn't start smoking until a little bit after I was 15. And that just sort of ruled my life. I mean,
I imagine it was swag. Did you have like just brick?
I think that we bought like a nickel sack or something.
Totally.
And it was like Mexican seeded bud.
You've been in Colorado forever, or
no?
Where was your first time you smoked? You don't have to necessarily say exactly where. But
California. I grew up in San Bernardino County, California.
You got some Cali brick, 15 years old.
Yeah, but it wasn't even brick. It was, if I remember right, it was sort of pretty, like a regular bud. It didn't look very compressed back then, but we smoked 3 bowls of it, and it didn't really do nothing to me. Another time we bought a bunch of oregano in a hamburger wrapper off the street and went in my friend's shed and smoked and never felt nothing, So just another buddy finally, we smoked a little bit at his house, and that's probably about at least the second time smoking real pot. I felt it finally, So some people say that they
first time they don't get it. Yeah,
it doesn't do nothing to them.
So iRock is known in Colorado as one of the better growers in the state, and so I'm going to kind of jump forward to when was the first time you started growing pot? Like, why did you decide to grow pot? How'd you get into it?
It was about 1996 in a dirt cellar that storm cellar that you had to flip the doors open from the outside, and we dug it out a little bit deeper, and I traded a half pound of swag for a 430 Sun Agro back then, and my buddy, was going to Amsterdam and bringing back seeds, and back then, I didn't even know how to clone, so he had given me a Super Skunk and a Skunk number 1 clone, and we tried to do the GH3 part, and turned out decent, but where I was growing it, little buds were coming off, or little buds were getting snipped off of it before it was ready. So I got pissed and snatched all the stuff up before it was probably real ready. And just then after that,
was the start of your journey. Some
Yeah.
skunk one in the outdoor with a
yeah,
little
and then a
3-part
bunch
GH.
of just bag seeds we had found in some good pot over the day. And I had me a little Tupperware that spent a good summer smoking good and not having to smoke no dirt weed. And
So I want to tell a quick story of how I met you. It's kind of funny. So the way I met IROC was when I started Delta 9, my first dispensary here in Denver, Colorado, one of the first dispensaries in all of Colorado. But when I started it, the way we started was, I think I've kind of told this story or touched on it in the past, but I went to Red Rocks and passed out at like a Fish concert, and I passed out these flyers with like, don't think you can get a med card, I can get you a med card. And I passed them out all over the place with like a little burner cell phone number, and then after the 4-day weekend of Fish, my phone number blew up with all these people that were trying to get med cards because people didn't necessarily know if you could get one or not at that time. So I remember getting this phone call from a guy, and we also simultaneously put ads on Craigslist. I think you saw mine on Craigslist.
Yep.
So Craigslist was the jam back in the day, and that's kind of where like all cannabis business was conducted. It's kind of crazy to think about, but in the early stages. So I put this ad up on Craigslist, and it was kind of like, don't think you can get a medical card. Like, we can get you qualified for a medical card. So I get this phone call one day, and it's from this guy, and he's like, man, are you sure like you can get me a card? Like, he's like, is this some bullshit scam? Like, you're so like upfront about it. And it's like the weirdest call. He's like, I really want to get a med card. I want to come down and get one. He's like, but I don't think that I'll be able to get one. And what happens because like I think it was like $180 to get the card.
Yeah, I think so.
To see the doctor. So you're like, so I pay $180 to see this doctor. He's like, but what if he doesn't write me the card? And you're like, are you going to give me $180 back if he doesn't write me a card? And I was like, that's not how our program works. But I kind of chuckled, and I'm like, it was Dr. Clemmer, and I was like, I was like, old Doc Clemmer. I was like, you're gonna get a med card, my friend, and whatever. And then you kind of came up, the most skeptical human being I've ever met. That was like, there's no fucking way this is gonna work.
I had already been somewhere else.
You had,
yeah, and
been burned.
And then like the dude took my money and put it in the drawer of his desk, and he's like, well, I could probably get you in next week to the doctor or something. I was like, wait a sec, you said I was gonna get it today. So I was like, give me my money back. So that's why I was skeptical at first.
You're like, what is going on with this shit? And I've talked about this briefly on the show too, where it was like, early on, a lot of the doctors that wrote these scripts were basically like kicked out of the medical community. They had like
pill mill doctors.
Yeah, pill mill doctors, or they were like OBGYNs that had like a bunch of failed births or something, where like hospitals really wouldn't use them because they kind of had a stain on their track record. So these guys couldn't work in like family practices or some places like that. So we had all these kind of seedy doctors that we would fuck with. And Dr. Clemmer, we can say, I mean, he's in jail now. Dr. Clemmer used to write anything you wanted, fucking pill mill script shit out of like hotel rooms. But he also took advantage of the marijuana card writing program at the time. Mm-hmm. And Clemmer would write just about anybody anything. So I remember when he came up and you're like super skeptical, we had like 5 different doctors to choose from. I'm like, we're going to send IROC to Clemmer. Because like, you know what I mean?
I remember it was like at a chiropractor's office or something. Yep. And he had a dispensary in the back room of the chiropractor.
So this is how it worked early on, and it was actually awesome, is we would do these Craigslist ads. Yeah. And then we'd say we can get these people that had no clue that they can get a card. And they were like, there's dispensaries that can buy weed. I can get a med card. I'm like, yeah, I'll get you a med card. And then after he writes the script for you, I was like, you can walk out and we'll have a dispensary right there. And you can go right there to do it. And that's how we became, caregivers for like 20,000 people in the city of Denver. Yeah. Because like we wrote so many cards for so many people that we became their caregiver, allowed us to hold so much product. But yeah, that was literally the early days of Delta 9, my first days of the industry, kind of coming back from college being like, I'm going to start this up. But yeah, I've known you since almost day one that I started this shit.
Actually, I think it was like 08 or so.
Yeah, so 07, 08, somewhere like it was back there.
15 years ago or so. Yeah, that's crazy. I was just thinking about the other day. I was like, man, I've had my med card like 14 years, 14 different ones now.
It's changed so much, the process too. It used to be super expensive, then you have to pay extra for that extended plant count kind of bullshit. And then you'd be getting 100 plant scripts for $400 or $500, but now it's like $60. You walk into any place, in, out, you know what I mean? You kind of go see these doctors with like, you don't really need appointments, though it used to be. Then we met Alan Shackelford, who had a shop across the street from us. I don't know if you know Shaq, But the doc
the
across the
name.
street, yeah. But he was like the most legitimate doctor, like super legit.
Yeah.
And he like testified before Congress, and he was like, we became friends, and we started using him because he was not a pill mill, and you didn't feel
Yeah.
weird about using these like drug addict doctor guys.
Yeah, that other doctor, man. Remember he'd disappear out in his car for like a half hour?
Oh yeah, dude. One time I used to follow him from dispensary. We would schedule we'd book his day for him. So I'd be like, you have 15 appointments here, 15 appointments at this dispensary, and 15 at that dispensary. And I'd book the appointments, and we'd follow him from shop to shop.
Yeah.
That dude would drive like 35 miles an hour on the interstate. So it was like, it's like, don't get high on your own supply kind of thing. This doctor was like enjoying his pills.
Out there chopping it up or something.
But yeah, anyway, long story short, that's how I met you was, kind of
Yeah.
in the very beginning stages of this. But I want to kind of bounce forward because Delta 9, you were one of our earlier customers. I think even vendors. We bought a bunch of stuff, I think, from you at the time.
Yeah.
But you were growing pretty fire crops, and you were one of the first people we gave Bruce Banner to, I think, and one of the holders of the strain for many, many years out here.
Actually, I got the Bruce Banner through the Craigslist too. I remember you had been telling me about it, and I had signed you as a caregiver. And somebody had bubble gum or something on Craigslist clones, and I went over there, and the guy's like, "Oh, we got this Bruce Banner too," and I was like, "Oh, I heard about that. Let me get that too." And then we didn't know which one it was, and then it started growing out, and it would be the number 5, which is probably one of my favorite strawberry weeds ever, man. Like I wish I had it right now. I'd love to grow some of that stuff.
It's funny because
great.
Bruce Banner was highly circulated on like Craigslist before it became like a house strain of Delta 9. So
Yeah.
like it floated around small circles. But yeah, you definitely scooped that one up, and a couple of other ones. I remember
Yeah.
Double Sour Diesel, some of those old school strains that we used to grow that we fucking loved. But yeah, I'm curious on your thoughts on like early Delta 9 days, your takeaway from all that time. Like, what do you think about all that back
It was
then?
crazy back then, them days, man. Yeah, like we were allowed to put like weed on consignment on the shelf
All day.
and that's what
We
I
could
was
smoke
doing.
in the shop. You would come in and we'd just burn, play
Yeah.
video games and burn and check out pounds. And I equated it to like Pawn Stars, that show. Like I was
Yeah.
like Rick. I was the bald guy standing there, and like people would just show up every 15 minutes with like pounds of pot or something, and I'd be like, let me take a look at it and be like, well, I can
Yeah.
give you this for it or something. And they'd usually be pissed at the price point. Or if it was stupid fire, I'd be like, yeah, we'll take this. We'll take this on consignment. We'll pay you what you want, kind of thing, and hang out, burn. But
Yeah.
I met so many fucking people like that. But it was a crazy time.
Yeah, I remember just like backpacking up Broadway with anything and everything you had and just going in like, hey, check this out. And it was like pawn shop. Yeah, like pawn stores and
Totally.
stuff. Yeah.
Every shop was a place potentially sell your wares, so it was also kind of cool to just go to
Yeah.
Denver and go up the Green Mile or whatever, and then just kind of huck your pounds all up and down the street.
Yeah, there was 3 or 4 places that
Yeah,
would take
totally.
stuff all the time. Even there was what was that place? It was like all the crazy Russian people that people would just walk in with
I
duffel
remember what you're
bags.
talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I remember I had got a clone there one time, and like dudes are just walking in with duffel bags and
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if you can recall some of the strains that you were growing and like what was hyped then. And so I remember we had house strains back then, our Juliet,
Yeah.
our Banner, and like Double Sour Diesels, and some of those that are still around today. But what strains were you popping
Trying-
off then, or what if
trying
you
to think.
can remember? Like what excited you back then?
Bruce Banner and like
Yeah.
Maui. And
I remember the Maui. Yeah,
Yeah,
we grew the
the-
fuck out of the Maui.
Maui was pretty good, and
You go to the Durban. The Durban was all over.
I never grew no Durban. Nah. There's a lot of stuff out there that's real hype nowadays. I've never even seen personally, So, I don't know. I don't know what else I was growing back then. Just clones that we would get off Craigslist and stuff. This one that was called Big Blue, that was garbage. It was like all leaf, but big old buds.
You remember those Craigslist transactions too? They were like the sketchiest deals, like in some parking lot of like a Walmart, and it was kind of like
Yeah.
the guy would show up, and I hate to say it, you're like judging a book by its cover. You're like, this guy don't know shit. These clones are not what they say he is, or you kind of
Yeah.
look at it like, oh,
I
he
had
seems
that.
like a head, so
I had that happen to me plenty of times too. Like
it was a roll of the dice.
buy a clone off somebody and it would be like OG Kush, and then you grow it out, it'd be like some kind of blueberry strain. But yeah, I don't know really. I remember like growing some bubble gum back then, some Bruce Banner, some maybe the Juliet a little bit, and Double Sour Diesel, and yeah. man, that was a while ago. It's hard to remember what I really had back then. Skywalker OG was one of my favorites back then. I had picked that up from dispensary. That was that guy? He's like Johan or Johan or something. They had a place right there on Alameda and like almost Broadway.
Yeah, it became
the red card place.
What's the name of it now? It doesn't matter, but I know what you're talking about. Sorry, the listeners have no clue, but yeah,
I remember like going up into their attic of that little place, and they had all these clones, and like I just saw that Skywalker, and I remember my cousin in California was saying that was really hype out there, so I'm like, let me get this. And
I remember Broadway Wellness when they opened up, and they had all the Cali cuts, and they came in with all this shit, and that was the first time in my life I'd ever seen PM. I'd been growing weed for like 10 fucking years, and I'd never had PM or even seen it, and then they had all these clones with this white powder all over it, and I was like, what the fuck am I even looking at with this? And I swear to God, it was like the introduction of like PM Overflow in Colorado when these dudes from Cali came out and opened a shop on Broadway. But I remember they had all these cuts that were interesting, like Purple Urkel and all these NorCal kind of cuts, and I'm like, I want to run these, but didn't know any better at the time. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of places that it was wild, just backpacking up Broadway with clones or, quarter pounds of weed or whatever, and that was the days, man.
What year was ADSI? Because I kind of want to skip to that, where you entered into, this is, I think, kind of what really put you on the map out here. I mean, people knew you, but when you entered this cup or whatever, the Adam Dunn Show Invitational, did you enter more than one strain? What strains did you enter?
No, the...
Ghost?
No, it was 2015, and I was either going to enter the sour diesel cut that I had, or I was going to enter this Flow G cut that I had got.
Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, and everybody's doing the sour, and I was just like, no. But it was funny because I won that competition. Like, I literally clothesline trimmed that weed the night before the contest.
So basically what the ADSI is, if you don't know Adam Dunn Show Invitational, is it's a very similar concept and format to like the 100K Grand Prix, where you do a bracket and head-to-head kind of tournament. It's blind, and then you get to the end, and I remember you were in like the top two. Yeah. And I was like, dude, you're going to fucking do this thing or whatever. But from that point forward, I think a lot of people were like, who the fuck is IROC Watts?
Yeah. And you know what's funny? The most of all what's crazy is you're sort of the reason I gave myself that name, IROC Watts.
I was going to ask you, what does IROC Watts mean? But yeah, go ahead.
Well, because remember back in the day, like Facebook was big and everybody had like a fake name, a weed name. And then there'd be like, somebody would name their page OG Kush. So I was like, I'm going to name my page Bruce Banner,
I remember this, yeah.
So I named it like B Banner MMJ. And then later on, like, I think that's after all the Delta 9 stuff went down. You went to Hawaii and you're like, hey, what the hell? Or something about the Bruce Banner page. So I was like, all right, I'll change the name. And then I was like thinking, like, it used to be like IROC 1K Watts.
I remember.
And that's just because like everybody was doing like the 600 watt lights back then, so it was just like I use
1,000 watt lights, which was a big deal back when you made the name.
Right? Yeah, and it just went everywhere. I don't even know, like people all think I had an IROC or something.
Yeah, the
Camaro.
car. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I always think like IROC is like a basic term. Like a lot of people say it, they don't even realize they're saying it, because you could be like, I rock Nikes or whatever, and so it's sort of like a universal language kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't know.
So, I follow you. So, another thing that you had done, or I want to get into a little bit, is at one point you got into the industry and actually worked a little bit in the industry. And I know it wasn't the most pleasant experience for you, and you don't have to give that much details.
It was.
But you can kind of explain. You did a farm that was one of the most impressive fucking farms I've ever seen. For people that don't know about IROC, he's like a farmer guy. He's got all the tractors, he's got all the equipment, he's got all the shit. And he lives down in southern Colorado, and he's a farmer dude. He's got goats and shit and chickens and everything else out on the farm. But they hired you to do one of these large-scale grows down in Pueblo.
Yeah.
And you send me pictures, and I mean, it was immaculate 5-foot fucking dumpers.
You even went down there that one
Yeah,
time.
went down and checked it out. I think we sold you some Caesar genetics at some point, and you ran them. But
the gobstopper that you gave me was killing it.
Totally.
Down there.
Yeah, but tell everybody about your experience getting into the industry and how that went and what you do it again, and as much or little detail as you want. Like I said, I know you didn't love that whole experience. So.
Well, I mean, at first it was great. Making great money. Enough money to where I thought it was worth doing it, giving it 100%, 120% actually.
Yeah, you slaved down there. You were there nonstop.
I just thought, the owner claimed it was the second largest recreational cannabis grow in Colorado. First year, 7,800 plants. Me and 3 other guys, basically. One of the guys would.
Yeah, you imagine growing 80,000 plants with 2 people? You and 2 people?
Well, I had 2 really good, really solid guys that would be there and work every day. A lot of the other guys, they may take credit for it, but they weren't there half the time, or they'd be late. Or
imagine that. That's the way it goes.
Their car would break down. They'd have to walk home for gas.
Taking all the pictures for the gram, like they did it, right?
Yeah. But I took all my own equipment down there. I had a big 6000 series John Deere with GPS steering, all that stuff, and XM radio. You could answer your phone in the damn thing, and I just went down there and set up their farm for them, set up the irrigation. I basically ran the whole farm. I went through and sort of hired people I thought that would be qualified for the job, and got rid of some of the people that were just talking the talk, and it went really well the first year. I thought I killed it.
Do you know how many pounds you pulled the first year? Did you get that number?
I didn't ever get an exact number, but it was somewhere around 9,000 pounds finished flower and like 20,000 pounds of trim. The trim itself was sold immediately and paid for 1.5 times the budget for the year, and
I just gotta ask you, how'd you harvest that? Like, how do you harvest that much weed at one time without fucking it up, without, destroying it, keeping it cured somewhat properly? But take us through how you harvest a massive farm.
So basically, we would have a side-by-side or something with a big trailer on the back, and people just taking hedge trimmers, those big branch cutters, and chopping them down and throwing them on the trailer, and you take them to the back door of the trim house and just lay them, I guess, as carefully as you could, but people are just throwing shit. You just lay them on the tarp, and then people, they didn't pluck nothing, and we just clotheslined it right there, and it was...
How big was the trim team? Like, how did you guys even process through that?
We used this...
Machines, I imagine, but how many people did you have on that job?
Well, we would try to get about 30 trimmers from a temp crew, maybe 11 would show up every day. So it took us over a month to get it all down. And luckily we had a good year that year, all except that early September snow. It didn't do much damage. It was melted off by 9 o'clock and maybe hit 32 degrees for 30 minutes or so. So about the worst thing we had was broken branches and stuff.
So that was a good year.
Yeah. I thought I did a really good job. I killed it. I gave it 100%. I didn't even go home for 75 days at harvest time. I stayed out there in my camper the whole time, and I worked my butt off just to sort of get slapped in the face. And
I would say, how does it end? You don't have to tell. You can tell whatever you want to tell, but how does it end?
Well, basically, I don't know.
Did you make it? Did you make it 2 years?
I started on the second year.
I remember the second year, and then you kind of were like, "I'm taking my tractor and I'm leaving." And that was sort of the way that this went. Because kind of what happened is, maybe I can even jump in just a little bit, but what happened was they grew so much fucking pot and didn't necessarily sell it all. that they kind of just sat on it for so fucking long that it became. This is kind of the problem with mega farms in Colorado is like you don't really sell all of the weed, so then you don't really grow for a year or two, and you just warehouse all of this pot and push it real cheap.
See, and that was another thing, like they're trying to say I underperformed and all this stuff, and they still had that 2020's harvest for sale 2 years plus later at $225 a pound, and they couldn't get rid of it. So I mean, I don't know how I underperformed off that amount, you know, and so basically I just didn't see eye to eye with some of the new supervision, and they gave me a severance check, and they said that we couldn't say nothing about your work ethic because you worked your ass off out here, but how, you know, good
just
luck.
Moved it on. You went back to farm life. And...
Yeah, and you know, it was just like, they're like, well, what are you gonna do if this happens? And I was like, I'm gonna go home and sit on the couch and live 5 years longer. You know, I mean, it was stressful, and it's hard. It's really hard to deal with people that have a lot of money and that want. I mean, they hire you to do a job, to teach them how to do it right, but then they want to put their 2 cents in it, and that's final word, and that's how you're doing it. Even, and you can't say nothing like you're a dumbass,
right?
Because then you might not have a job the next day, you know. So
it's got to be frustrating to know the right thing to do, but kind of be forced to do the wrong thing. And you're like, dude, it's hard to come in here and like do the wrong thing.
And you know, that was the first year they had, you know, hung the weed to dry, then trimmed it. You know, it all went through twisters and whatever those other machines are with the triple barrels, and I mean, it still had to be hand checked for orders and stuff. Sure. But
you got tips and tricks that just for anybody that does outdoor or large scale outdoor, because I mean, you drip tape and poly strip that thing with the tractor and put in a shit ton of plants. But is there any tips or tricks that you kind of learned doing a large scale commercial like that you maybe want to share? Anything that threw you for a loop that you didn't expect?
I mean, there would be like something getting the plants every night, like a rabbit or something. Just would
wildlife.
It would be like a beaver eating a tree, and it just fell over. You know, the rabbit would eat, and we'd literally be out there for a month after we planted, just going up and down rows and replacing plants. You know, so I remember too. You gave me that Bruce Banner 3, and there was like this replacement one. And, you know, it was put in late, and it wasn't even more than 2 feet tall. But I shit you not, that thing had a football butt on it. And I was like, that's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. But, yeah, and then, I don't know, just some of the weird things I saw. It was 3 different strains. One branch coming off the plant was all male flowers, and they were all from clone.
That's strange.
And it was 3 different strains on 2 different farms. So I can't explain how that happened. That's just something I've never seen before.
When you start growing 80,000 plants, you see some anomalies too that pop off, or mutants, or like things that's like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah,
but yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, and anything you grow down there is going to be seeded. Cannabis grows wild down by the river. The farmer behind that farm said he probably picked 150 plants out of the ground, and however it would get back there, birds, whatever, you know.
There's hemp farms down there. Pollen can blow miles in the wind and shit. And it's like, that was the thing about the southern Colorado. Like, everyone kind of thought this is where all the mega grows in America are going to be. Like, these are the biggest grows you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I don't really know any of them that really made it, like, successful. They had a couple of good crops maybe, but not year in and year out, like, super successful.
I would say, though, my biggest advice would be... if you're going to grow that much weed, have a place to cure and trim and hang this shit, because, you know, like, somebody will promise you something, and, you know, they'll promise you a mansion and you get a shed, you know what I mean? So
a storage container, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, this is not going to work. Just some of the dumb shit I hear, like, you know, we were using tomato twine, and basically you put a big old box of twine on your belt, through your belt loop, and you run it through a PVC pipe, and you put a piece of rebar between each plant, and you go around and wrap it.
Yeah.
So
kind of like tying them up like a Christmas tree kind of thing.
yeah, that was wild. We probably ran up hundreds of miles of that stuff.
I'll try to throw a video up on the IG of the drone footage because you got some really cool drone footage of this massive farm. But yeah, I'll throw it up if I can on our IG.
Yeah,
so
we
you guys
killed
can see
it. I thought, and it's just ungrateful. Just I don't even know.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You worked your fucking ass off, and like you say, it just didn't necessarily get the reward at the end that you were looking for, kind of thing. But I don't know. I'll move it on to kind of more present day. Like a lot of my current day friends, all love to buy IROC pod. It's kind of funny. Like everyone's like, I gotta go meet up with IROC. I'm getting some IROC, and I'm like, okay, you got. So what are some of the strains that you kind of fuck with now? Because I know. You're Gary, you got a little permanent marker going on, but almost everybody I know is like, I love this IROC Gary Payton. So like, tell us a little bit about what you grow now and maybe your grow methods. Like, how do you grow?
Nothing I really have right now. I'm really
super
impressed.
In love with.
Yeah, like the peach, the sweetest peach OG. I love that from Jinx Proof. Not many people have it. That's just one of my favorites. Yeah, the Gary Payton's another fire hitter, and I do have a little bit of a strawberries and cream going, and it's a real good washer, I guess. And it just, it's weird is I don't know if it's something about the strawberry or not, but remember how the Banner 5 used to grow like these unicorn horns, and that strawberries and cream does the same thing.
Yeah, little corkscrews.
Yeah, it's just weird, but.
What's your grow method as the moment? Because your flower always tastes really fucking good. Are you a living soil guy, or what's your method?
Yeah, I run those grassroots fabric pots. Been using the same soil for about 6 years now. I tried the little worm trick and went and bought all these worms from Uncle Jim's and even Colorado Worm Company. And it's weird because I thought they were gone. Like, I thought... you'll like get some
where the worms go.
Yeah, but the other day I was planting a big 100-gallon fabric pot that I had, and I found a worm, and I was like, man, I haven't put no worms in this for probably 3 years. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then roly-polies too. They came out of nowhere, and I guess they'll eat all the dead vegetation and turn it good. And
I mean, you're one of the smarter growers in the sense that you grow huge plants.
Yeah.
You stay within your plant count, obviously, to remain legal, but you grow monsters.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of take advantage of, grow smarter, not harder, or illegal in a sense. It's like, so what is your veg like as far as when you try to get these monsters to, because I've tried to post a couple pictures also of your grow, but you literally have stuff that is huge.
Yeah, I mean, they're not real big, 6 or so footers, but, usually 1,000 watts per plant or more. And, it's weird because they say, now I'm sort of seeing this with the bigger plants, is the smaller plants are usually more impressive, more terpier, have more trike coverage on them, I don't know if this is true or not, but just the philosophy I've seen, like maybe I'll pull a little test plant in a 10-gallon next to my living soil beds, and it'll turn out fire for this little old plant, and then I'll grow a big old plant of it, and I'm like, man, it's not as good as it was in that little pot, so. But the living soil thing, it's sort of different. Even the other day I went to sort of re-amend the soil, some just dry amendments, and I was planting at the same time, so I did like some bone meal and some blood meal and worm castings and a few other things, and mixed it in, and then filled it in with some more dirt, and planted some plants out of solo cups, man. And then I saw this strain. I only had 2 of this specific strain, and they all started just dying, and I was like, what the hell? So I went to scoop a plant back out, put it back in the solo cup, and the soil was warm. It was warm as hell, like when you build super soil, man. I was like, I didn't think that,
Yeah, get up to like 120 degrees when it's cooking.
I wonder what the main ingredient is that actually makes it get hot like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but when you do build the super soils and you have to cook it, and it'll get up to 120. But if you use the soil right away, as you're explaining,
it'll burn
fry up some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and before I've done like some top them in it and stuff like that. And that's never really done anything. But actually, before I planted it.
Sure. What about lights? Aren't you sponsored? Are you an LED guy? Are you
No.
CMH? What do you rock?
I rock.
What do you rock?
See,
I bet
there
I
you
know.
go.
1,000 watts. Are you still a 1,000 watt guy? True to your name?
I'm using a little bit of combination of the oldie Papillons still, just because they still work.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting into these new, well, it's not called a Gavita, so what are the DLI or whatever, jars. I've got a couple of those, testing them out, but no, I'm not sponsored by anything. Anybody want to sponsor me? I'm here. But, yeah, so just mainly double-ended HID lights. I do have some LEDs, and I've tried them in tints, but I just don't have good luck, with the LEDs. So I did have some lights go out, and I figured I'd swap a room around and checkerboard a room with some LEDs and HIDs and see what happens.
Did you like it? I'm kind of experiencing that, like, there's a difference when you switch to these LEDs where you kind of have to learn to grow all over again in a way. Yeah.
And, I haven't really done a lot of tint growing, so I don't know what it was, man. I just couldn't get it right. Trying to use these tints and LEDs, and I couldn't tell you what I was doing. So, but I have, like back in the day when they had the Lush lights, basically they'd buy 100 lights off Alibaba and stick a Made in America sticker and Lush sticker on there, whatever. I had some of those, and I would mix them, like checkerboard them through the room, and that always worked really good, but I don't know.
Curious, have you ever dabbled in breeding at all? Have you ever made any plants?
One time.
How'd that go?
It was with Bruce Banner 3 and Bruce Banner 5.
No shit.
Yeah, and...
How'd you reverse one?
No, but I used the Pandora's box from Subcool. Because remember, you could buy the seeds at, what is it, Kind Love now? It used to be called, like, something else.
No, God, I know.
Yeah, I remember. I know you know, because I knew you knew the guy.
Herbal Connection.
Yeah, Herbal Connections.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was called Kind Love back then or not.
It was Herbal Connection South.
Yeah, and you used to be able to buy Subcool seeds there, and I had got a male Pandora's box and bought like a 250 watt light and a little tint, and I bred them out, and I never got to try them.
You never put the seed in the soil?
Well, they got stolen from me.
Oh, that's another story.
Yeah, another person from the legal side of weed tested a few of them, wanted to test some more, and I had the whole stash of seeds on me and gave them to him, like, here, take 100 seeds of the best ones and give them back to me.
Never saw them again.
Never saw them again.
That shit happens.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever tried to breed on purpose.
I would say, would you do it again now? I mean, people know that you are really good at growing. You select good phenos.
It's not my thing.
I think potentially you could do it if you had any desire.
Nah. If people ain't gonna buy them,
Nah.
I'm not gonna do it.
I just like hard nah.
Yeah.
Like, that's
if people ain't gonna buy them, I ain't gonna make them. So.
Well, let me ask you this then. As far as, I mean, you crack a lot of stuff, kind of.
I'm not a seed guy.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Do you have favorite breeders or favorite like pops that you've been through, or something? What are your favorite runs that you've ever done from seed? But I guess you're kind of a lot of clone, really.
Yeah, I just I have a clone plug. Or a lot of people that want to hook me up with clones, like, see what you could do with this, and so I go with it, and I just, I haven't really been impressed with anything lately. Bring OGs back,
It's kind of funny you say that. We were just having a conversation with somebody else here that I can't remember who it was, but I was talking about how, in a weird way, when I first entered the market, I had all these collections of clones that I had, and like, those were all from pheno hunts that I did when it was black market as fuck, and you didn't tell anybody you bought seeds. Then I would find these phenos through these seed pops, and I had this collection. Then I would release them to the market. But it was like when I was early on going through seeds to find those phenos that I kind of debuted with, it was so much easier to find really good stuff in packs. Yeah. And nowadays, I'm kind of with you where it's like, everything has turned a bit gray. And when I go through these seed packs, there's not a lot that does excite me. And I don't know if it's just because we've been smoking weed for so fucking long and we're such veterans of the game, all of a sudden that everything kind of bores you, or was it truly that weed was fucking better back then?
Well, I mean, of course, anything was going to be impressive back then. I mean, there wasn't a lot to choose from.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. Is like we were so new to it that it was like everything was eye opening and like, oh, I want to try this. Oh, I'd love to try that, and it was just a new experience for us. But now, as we've been smoked every fucking strain around, it's like okay, like nothing's really making me excited.
Some of my favorite shit is just like OGs and GMO type stuff, burger stuff. You know, I mean, I like that. I don't know what a GMO for some reason tastes like a cat litter box. I don't know why that's appealing, but
cat litter box?
Yeah, I don't know.
See,
it smells like a cat litter box.
I get mothballs so hard that it's almost offensive. When I good GMO's done, I'm like I almost can't smoke this because it is so mothball offensive to me.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, you were known for growing really good GMO for a while there too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of them that you pushed a lot.
I took that to the $100,000 Grand Prix.
You did the Grand Prix with the GMO?
Yeah, I think I took that one 88 days, and
How far did you go on that? Sweet 16 or something? You made it.
I think I took like 7th place.
One thing about, I forgot to bring this up. One thing about the ADSI is I think that we went head to head with, I had Banner and you had your Flow OG, and we didn't know, obviously it was blind, but I went back and looked at the bracket and we went head to head and you beat me in like the second round.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I
was like, the motherfucker that I got a pot card for brought him into my shop. If I got him a pot card, and how he's beating me in the contest and shit. But no, I thought it was. I mean, all props to you. That's why I laughed about it. I didn't even know that
you entered that.
Yeah, we were in that contest, and we got whooped by you. And that's the thing. But you went on to kind of win, so I'm saying, I am okay. That's the thing with the 100K Grand Prix too. If you get beat by the eventual winner, it's all second place kind of in a way because like no one could beat that strain. You know what I mean? So even if you went out early in the contest, it's like at least you lost to the winner. That's like getting beat by Duke in the NCAA tournament basketball or something. It's like, yeah, well, it was fucking. They were going to go on to win the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I take some solace in the fact that you whooped my ass in that tournament, and then I'll just say, well, at least he won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's weird because like I had 6 lights in the basement. I trimmed the weed the night before the contest, you know, and off the clothesline, you know. And
now you're rubbing it in.
Yeah,
no,
so
I remember when I entered. I went to Mitch actually, and I was like, Mitch, dude, I was like, my weed is too fucking wet. I was like, same kind of thing. I was like, it was moist, it was raining, it was snowing, and all that or whatever. And I had it dry, but then I re-jarred it, and when I woke up in the morning, it was just fucking re-moistened like a motherfucker. And I'm like, I can't. This isn't contest weed today. I was like, I need more time to dry and cure this a little bit better. And Mitch is like, dude, you got to put up or shut up, man. You're here. And I was just like, fine, take my 2 ounces of wet weed and let's do the contest. But either way, I remember all of that.
Yeah, and then I think I did enter the Banner 5 into the next year's ADSI. And I don't remember how well I did on that one, but still, yeah, that was a good. I remember I brought like 5 different kinds of weed to that second one, and I was like, what do I enter? What do I enter? Then I was just like, this is going to kill it because this is my favorite weed right here. You know, that strawberry Banner 5. I love that shit. Still, I haven't even smoked none in a few years, but.
Well, see, you got your Puffco with you. You're a hash guy. Do you ever fuck with hash? Do you make hash, or you just sort of like you pass the flour on to the hash makers and get your return?
This is rosin right here. It's from my material, but I didn't make it. A buddy of mine made it, and I mainly smoke hash. I don't smoke a lot of flour unless I run out of hash.
When did that transition kind of happen? Because I know you were a flour guy forever. So when did you become like a hash head?
Man, I used to be like bong hits before work in the morning. 4 a.m, have to drive all the way to Boulder to work, you know, and doing bong hits of sour diesel and yeah, I mean, I hit a bong the other day because I was like, God, it tastes like crap. It's mainly the taste, you know, taste that does it for me. Weed doesn't taste good to me anymore. I guess that's pot snobbish.
I mean, I know what you mean though, too, because also when you get into the really fine extracts, like the terps explode, you know, and it's like, okay, this is tastier, gets you higher, but I've kind of stayed in the flower lane for some reason. I like rosin, I like, you know, good hash, but for some reason I tend to go for flower over hash, even though it's like if you give me a gram of rosin, it'll probably last me like a month, where I know other people will be like, I'll smoke that shit in like a day.
Half a day.
2 days, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take like a dab a night of like really good hash. because I appreciate it, but I've never really been the one that's like, I take that back. If I'm playing video games, I will fucking smash through some hash. I don't know what that's about. Vape pens or cart pens or whatever, too. I can just, like, play some Call of Duty and kill a cart pen in, like, fucking 20 minutes. I'm like...
I like those cart pens sometimes when I'm driving the tractor. They're pretty convenient, you know, and because you get bored sitting in that tractor so long every day, it sort of takes your mind off it.
That's what I was gonna say. Is we could talk about kind of what you're doing currently. It's not really a cannabis topic or whatever, but I'll let you plug your services, man. So you're one of these guys that like is always posting on his Instagram his new tractor, or have a tractor problem, or someone stole my tractor, or I bought a hot tractor. You always have a tractor story, but iRock is like a tractor guy, and I'm
not really though. Like, I've owned like 4 or 5 tractors. I never even drove a tractor till I bought one. It just started out. I needed something to mow the lawn, you know.
So yeah, essentially you were telling me about, and I'm sure plenty of people know this. I didn't, but the new tractors. You just got yourself a brand new Cadillac of a tractor, and it's got these GPS things in it where it keeps the line super straight when you're mowing.
Yeah, this one doesn't have GPS.
Oh, it doesn't have it.
You could put it in there, but it's like John Deere. My other one had it that we designed the farm, or we made the farm with. It was like a row cropper. Yeah,
that's the thing about these is like, if you really want precision farming, when you look at these rows, when you're driving down these fields, you see these rows that are just dead straight as fuck. It's like they're using these GPSs.
They have to.
I imagine on the inside of these tractors, though, it's like you might as well be in a fucking. You got a nice chair, you got air conditioning, you got Bluetooth fucking speakers, radio, GPS driving it. Like you're just sitting in there.
A buddy seat and air ride seat and GPS, or not GPS, but yeah, you could answer your phone sitting in that thing, and the AC gets so cold you'll have to turn it off. And I like this tractor. Had a couple other brand tractors, and
so yeah. Besides growing really good pot, the man does tractor services. Meaning, like if you're in Southern Colorado and someone needs to like get their acreage mowed, this is your guy right here.
Yeah, and I even got an offer. Somebody came at me on Instagram and said next year that I wanted to lay out basically 21 acre farms, and then they were gonna, like down in Ordway area, and they were gonna either rent or sell those 1 acre properties to people
for growing.
Yeah, and there'd be like turnkey, just plant your plants.
Sort of like a Area 420 concept where it's like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually, that it is like that concept. But yeah, so then I'd probably be busy and they said just bring the tractor down and they have all the implements. But see, I mean, laying those rows that straight, it takes some
skill.
I still haven't mastered it. I could never lay a straight line without that GPS, but I think I know how the people do it now. You know, they have like this bed shaper that lays 4 rows at a time before you put the plastic. You know, it just sort of humps it up. Yeah. And they're all square with each other, so then that's how they get them straight looking without GPS.
And I've seen this on like camera before, but the planters basically have like a seat that they sit in behind your tractor, and they have like a row of clones, and they're just plugging as they roll and plug as they roll. It's actually kind of crazy to see because you can plant like thousands of plants in an hour if you have it lined up. I don't know about thousands, hundreds of plants in an hour if you have it lined up. But it's kind of a cool operation to watch people stick a bunch of hemp clones or even outdoor cannabis plants.
And there's different types of planters. I mean, they have these high-tech Italian planters that you just put the plant in this little cup, and that's all you have to do. It puts it in the ground, it waters it, everything. Well, the other ones, you know, a wheel goes by, puts a hole in it. You can set like up to 4 people on those, and you know, one person will throw the clone in, a person in the back seat might have a little shovel and fill the hole.
Try to tamp it down.
And then another guy is like trailing behind with the hose and putting extra water on it so it's not going to die before you even go up the next row. You know, I've been through it all. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of it, man. And I've seen these hemp guys when hemp was real big coming out. Like, everybody thought they're going to get rich, and they didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Hemp was a nightmare. Yeah.
I got ripped off big by some guys for like $8,000 they never paid me for laying out their farm, and they just abandoned the whole place and just. I think they said they spent like $100,000 on seed and only like 20% popped.
Yeah, that's the other thing about like the hemp business with seed too. There was so many seed scammers in that business, like massive seed scammers, or they would just sell you hot ass shit. So you grow it all summer and then you turn around and you're like, this shit's like 20% THC. It's not even hemp.
And then I think the 20% they did have survived somehow mysteriously. The greenhouse burned down and.
A lot of those insurance things happen, you know what I mean?
I bet that's what it was, but I don't know. So I got burned out on the hemp stuff, got burned out on the legal marijuana stuff, and probably, you're probably the longest, like, cannabis person that I've like stayed in touch with and stayed friends with.
Shit, I'm one of the last ones left from the early days, for real. Like everyone else has packed their suitcase and left long ago, and I understand why. Trust me. But I'm still fucking here. Yeah, I'm one of the last ones around. But no, I mean, I don't know. You got anything else you want to talk about or shout out before we get out of here? I feel like that's kind of a wrap. But I want to give you a full opportunity. Like I say, this man grows really dank weed. Hopefully, maybe we can talk him into entering the 100K again this year or something.
That's the only thing though, is I don't really have. I don't have anything that's going to be fresh around then, so I'd have to sit on some stuff.
You're going to have to squirrel something away, bro, which I know you can't do.
I know. Like, all the good stuff goes first, too. So.
Yeah, I know exactly how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, totally, yeah. If anyone needs tractor services, or like I say, my man comes around Denver all the time, check his IG. You might be able to link up with him. But yeah, iRock's a good friend, a good dude.
Give a follow.
And go follow him on IG. He deserves it. He's a hard fucking worker and a straight shooter. And I've known
I got a backup account too, iRock Dank Nugs.
Yeah, follow that one too. Follow them both. All right, everybody. Yeah, thanks iRock. Thanks for coming on the show this week.
Hey, no problem, man. Man, we could have a lot of stories because, man, I didn't even go through half of it, man. I don't know. We'll have to save that for another time.
We could get you back. This man has all the stories. Like I say, we've been all over the place together. But yeah, we got more with iRock eventually at some point. We'll have to break him back out and get some juicy detail stories on it.
I definitely just have to remember this the internet, and I can't say anything to incriminate myself.
Shit. All right. Thank you, iRock. Appreciate you, buddy.
No problem.
All right, that's going to be our show for this week. I appreciate iRock for coming down. I'm going to shout out a couple of sponsors real quick. Dutch Sensi. He's our man over there on Twitch and YouTube. He's got a huge channel. Go give him a follow. He accurately and miraculously predicts earthquakes and gets you prepared. Talk about bug out bags. He's a huge cannabis guy and grower, hobbyist breeder. We love Dutch, and we're going to keep shouting him out and go give him a follow. I know his channel got a little hiccup there, so go give Dutch a follow. Do that one. C-Bazaar Premium, you're going to need to grab that because next week or 2 weeks from now, I believe, the 13th, Daz is coming out with his drop, and you're going to want to be premium to grab that drop. Also, there'll be a limited Dark Owl drop, and I think I'll tease it a little bit, we may have a little Halloween spook show going on with Hoodoo Moses. That's all I'm going to tell you. A little spook show might be coming up. But yeah, you're going to need to get on C-Bazaar Premium to get that drop. Regular drop will be on the 15th for Daz Night Owl folks. Good luck. Go scoop that drop up. Also, we are going to shout out 100K Grand Prix real quick. I didn't say this on top of the show, but there will be no hash contest now. There's not going to be any hash sites. It's just going to be all flower contest. There was only like a few, like 3 or 4 people that even entered the concentrate side. So we'll refund those and just make it a flower only contest. So there is no hash side to the 100K Grand Prix this year. And honestly, we put out our sponsor push as the last couple of weeks, and we have 2 or 3 people that have us kind of signed up to sponsor. So I'm confident saying 100K Grand Prix is going to go through. People should be looking at signing up. It's 2 ounces and $500 to compete head-to-head, winner-take-all, and December 1st through the 3rd. If we don't get a lot of entries, it's going to be a 2-day tournament. It'll be first and second. But if we get up to where I want to be with more than 100 entries, we're going to have to do a 3-day tournament. So, but my anticipation is to be a 2 to 3 day tournament in December 1st through the 3rd. And if you want, sign up at 100kgrandprix.com. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring, it'll be a cool opportunity to get your logos on the poker tables that we're going to use for the contest. It'll be streamed live for everyone to watch. And with that said, I think we're going to sign this sucker off. But yeah, everybody go sign up for 100K Grand Prix. We'd appreciate it. And we look forward to doing it. And we're less than like 60 days away. So yeah, it's getting real now. Let's do this son of a bitch. Everybody, thank you, IRA, for coming on. We're going to sign off. I'm not going to do my sign off song this week, so we'll update that shit later. But peace, and we'll catch you guys next week. All right, later.